the meantime, we must move on, and I'm delighted to welcome to the floor Professor Dr. Dan Wood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will be brief because it's lunchtime and also because some of the previous colleagues has already introduced some of the concepts. So I will talk about the assessment of research output and integrative framework. From the beginning, I just want to say that, in my view, and I will try to argue for that, the research output concept is a pretty clear one. However, many people, I would say, would like to see it as a fuzzy concept, because if this is a fuzzy concept, you can control what is happening in the assessment of the concept. So let's see what is happening. The frameworks in which I will talk about this context are the next. The European Science Foundation. Last year it was an international forum there about the assessment of the research. I'm also a member of the Social Science Standing Committee there. The new project, the new European project regarding the ranking or the mapping of the research-based universities in Europe, the National Science Foundation in the United States, and also very briefly I will talk about what we have right now at the national level, because we have an ongoing project in which we try to elaborate the project. In fact, we have already the project, but we try to create a ranking for the leading universities based on the research. So these are the frameworks in which I will talk about this concept, namely the assessment of the research output. So let's go to basics. If we think about science, what is science? By science we try to generate knowledge, by research, in order to solve theoretical and practical problems. Of course, sometimes we discover knowledge by chance. However, after that we try to validate those knowledge. If we check the Frascati manual, for example, even there, research is defined similarly. So the research is related to knowledge generation. If you are doing research, if you are doing science, you are focused on knowledge generation. Of course, as I said before, in order to solve theoretical or practical problems. When we talk about research, we should always have in mind that there are, of course, different types of research. We all know that we can talk about fundamental or basic or exploratory research. There we try to generate typically what we call declarative knowledge, and typically the declarative knowledge are expressed in publications. Also, we can talk about applied research, in which typically we generate procedural knowledge, which we can find in publications. And also, we have what we call development and innovation, in which we generate procedural knowledge supporting direct applications. And we can find this type of knowledge where? In publications, but also in patents, or directly in products and services to community. Talking about research assessment, we can focus the assessment on three components: the input of the research, the state of the research, and also on the output of the research. Here I'm going to talk only about the output of the research. I'm not going to focus on the first two components, input and the state, just on the output of the research. But when we talk about research in the university context, we must be aware of a very important fact. In fact, I think that we are aware, but we should discuss more about this in an explicit, non-defensive way. I mean, in a university, we have different types of activities, right? Mainly research, knowledge generation, teaching, education, knowledge dissemination, innovative services, knowledge implementation, and also, of course, we have administration, knowledge management. All these four components are very important. However, typically, if we check what is happening at the international level, in the international rankings, the focus is a little bit on the research. So the research is seen a little bit more important than the others. In what way? In order to have teaching, to have knowledge dissemination, you need knowledge. In order to do knowledge implementation, you need knowledge. So the knowledge generation is very important. That is why the focus on the research and research evaluation is very strong at the international level. As I said before, the research output is related to knowledge. Knowledge could be expressed in publications, diverse. We can talk about the academic impact of the research. I mean, citations, good research will bring you students in the university. Students would like to work with professors who publish interesting papers and so on. But also we can talk about technological impact, innovative technologies, services, products and so on. Of course we can talk about economical impact, money. We can talk about social impact, I mean different technologies by which we can increase the quality of life. And also we can talk about the cultural impact, namely new paradigms, values and so on. That is why when I listen to my colleague talking about, that was not your question, but different people are asking in relationship to fundamental research, what is the public good? I tell you what is the public good of the fundamental research. Fundamental research will generate what we call values, theories. For example, a theory about human evolution, a theory about the evolution of the universe is very important because we have a psychological need which is biologically determined for meaning. So this kind of explanations is for that psychological need what water is for our biological need. So that is the public good directly on the short term. I'm not going to talk about the implication of the medium and long term because we very nicely expose that. But I just want to say that even on the short term, fundamental research is very important by this cultural impact it can generate. So the main point, or the main idea I want to keep in mind here in this group is that we have to make this very important distinction between output and the impact of the output, and we have to evaluate both components. Then, as I said before, we have a problem in the universities because we have those at least 4 important activities. Research is a little bit, it seems, let's say, more important. That is why the rankings are focused on the research. However, if we check what is happening, a lot of people try to combine, to introduce different dimensions into one dimension. Typically, we should talk about scientific and research output, and differently, we should talk about educational output, about products and services, and about artistic products. They are different outputs of the university. If we want to evaluate, to organize, or to generate a comprehensive evaluation, we can take into account all 4 components. However, to focus and to put all the outputs under the umbrella of research output is very bad. Because the research output, as I said before, is related to knowledge. Knowledge means, let's say, working definition, justified true beliefs, and knowledge is related to values of truth. If we talk about an artistic product like, I don't know, theater, art gallery, films and so on, the main idea is not related to the value of truth, it's related to something else, to the aesthetic values like beauty, art, and so on. So the idea to put an artistic product as an example of research output is bad. I can understand why we try to do that, because we do not have methodologies to quantify what some universities do, namely to generate artistic products. That is why when we try to evaluate them, they try to push their output into what we call research output, and that is very bad because, as I said, it just introduces a lot of confusions and we are not able to evaluate rigorously what we mean by research and research output. And now I will give you an example because, of course, I'm in Europe, I'm dedicated to the European cause and so on, but also, as I said before, I'm an adjunct professor at Sinai in the United States. And truly speaking, when I'm speaking directly, there is a difference in the way we see the evaluation of the research. In Europe, we try to combine those different indicators so that everyone will be satisfied. Let me give you the example. We have a new enterprise at the European level to evaluate Europe's university-based research. It was an expert group at the level of the European Commission. artistic products, sport outputs, and so on. Is that combination which is not useful because it will not give us a very clear picture about research. I would propose, and always in different European committees and commissions in which I was invited, I always said, if we try to evaluate the research, let's start at the same time with different indicators. I mean, we can elaborate indicators for research, but also let's have indicators for educational output, for services, for management in the university, and so on, because otherwise people will try to push all the dimensions into one and we will just destroy the customer. If you check what is happening, for example, in the United States and the National Science Foundation, there, when they talk about the output of the academic, they stay with the publications and patents. As I said before, because research means knowledge. Knowledge can be expressed in publication patents and services and products. And also, here in the European model, they talk about books and chapters. Now, let's speak directly. Some books reflect research, other books do not reflect research. Sometimes the book is just what? The documentation, the collections of different information. Some books are just manuals for teaching. But that distinction is not very clear there. That is why I am a part of the social sciences. The social sciences books are very important. But if I want to evaluate the research in the social science, the book should be related to research, not just to manuals and documentations. So as you can see, there is a different way in which this quite clear concept, if you take the Frascati manual, if you take the philosophy of science, what research and knowledge means, so this quite clear concept is sometimes presented in a fuzzy way, because in this way we can work on the assessment process so that we can avoid different conflicts and hot discussions. But I don't think that this is very good if we really want to see what is the state, what is the level in which the European universities will be in the competition with other international universities. We should know clearly how we stay at this moment in research. Not try to combine everything there. And to make a long story short, in conclusions, what is very important if you really want to evaluate the research output, remember that the research is related to knowledge, make a distinction between research output, educational output, services, art and sports. There are different dimensions. All could be evaluated. I have nothing, so I do not propose to combine different dimensions into one general score. That is fine. But I oppose to take different dimensions and put all the dimensions into a single construct. That is bad. And also, don't forget that the impact of research should be evaluated in a multi-level analysis. At least two levels are very important: the output of the research and the impact of the output of the research, with all those components: cultural, academic, social, and technological. Thank you very much.
Thank you for an excellent presentation. To begin to draw to a close, questions? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Professor, congratulations for your presentation. My name is Eric Bart. I'm from the World Trade Institute Bucharest. I think I can do it without the microphone, but I have one short question, maybe a rhetorical one, and maybe we will have the answer after lunch. In your opinion, sir, what would be the number of universities existing in Romania out of the 56 plus 50? 56 state and 50 private, or vice versa, to practice fundamental research? Number one.
I will speak directly and shortly. If you check the data from the United States, maybe 10% of the universities which we have right now should be what we call university in the real sense, in a real world. Because the problem in Romania right now is that we do not make a clear distinction between undergraduate and graduate schools. If you check what is happening with the world-class universities, they have very clear So I would say that maybe 10% of the universities would be a good number. And I tell you because I know some very important analysis. Someone said that we have 112 or 110 universities. 5 universities in Romania, namely Babeş-Bolyai, Bucharest, Cluj University in Iași, Technical University in Bucharest, and maybe Technical University in Iași, cover 65% of the international publications of Romania. So 6 universities of 100. So maybe those should be focused on what we call research and sponsored for research. But you know, this is just an idea.
That was an extremely fair reply. Thank you very much. I hope we continue with on the same tone in the afternoon, because now we start talking business. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Please, a question at the back.
I think we miss a good philosopher, but it is my impression that your separation between research products, artistic products, and so on depends on your definition of truth. Well, it is my impression. Yeah, you were talking about generating knowledge and validating truth.
Values of truth. It's values of truth, something else than truth. I'm not talking about truth, that is the problem of the problem.
Yeah, okay, I think we'll take the discussion.
Thank you. And one final question back here, please.
Thank you. My name is Mugurean. I came from a hydropower production. I have all my respect for all the papers here, which are the most important factor in the education today. But speaking from outside, I have the privilege to have another opinion. In the afternoon, I will detail this opinion. In your opinion, Professor, why the American university like MIT prepare not students but leaders? Why the French l'Institut pour Sciences Politiques de Paris, n'est-ce pas? Et aussi, as well as the Milano Institute of Economics made leaders. Why the best medical students from here, from Romania, getting in America their qualification, they became more efficient and more pragmatical, as good as doctors, because you have an American experience. What do you think is the success of this kind of universities? In the afternoon, I will speak about research in the big universities and about the big links between industry and university. We don't must fool each other. The most important thing between the transfer of technology between the university and the industry, it's validated only by the big achievement in technology. Just look from the German universities that gives, after the Second World War, the best transfer of information in America for the first nuclear reactor. Later, in America and Russia, for the best fighter, because in the 52s, I think, on the sky of Korea War, the American Star and the Russian MiG-50 was the copy of a Messerschmitt airplane. And later, this technology transfer from the German university became the first step of Soviet in the Sputniks and the American in the race of first man on the moon. It was up to the German scientists, according to Bob Hope in America, that said, what we shall do, gentlemen, the German Russians were better prepared than the American Russians.
Do you want to make a comment on